So welcome to this new Hoche Hour, directly from Jus Mundi's office here in Paris, Avenue Hoche. Hoche Hour is a place to be inspired by people from the legal, tech, or global affairs space. Tonight with us is Ayushman Dash, head of data and AI at Jus Mundi. Can I call you Dash?
Yes, of course.
Great. So Dash, would you please briefly introduce yourself?
So, hi everyone, I am Dash. My full name is Ayushman Dash, but people lovingly call me Dash, and I wholeheartedly accept it. Born and brought up in a small town in India. Wanted to become a civil engineer, but don't ask me how I ended up studying computer science. Was very lucky to have worked in the world of AI for many years now. I was an AI researcher for over a decade, and then I decided to start my own company and then became a founder. And then I think that is where I had a pivotal moment in my life. And from then on, I've always wanted to build something. I kind of converted from a researcher into a builder. And here I am, working in the field of legal tech. Never thought I would be here, but there I am.
And did you think you would be in France? So first time working in France?
Yes, first time working in France. I never imagined actually that I would live in France, and I'm loving it.
So Dash, you know that the tradition here is to first share a fun fact about yourself. So what is your fun fact?
Okay, my fun fact is that I played in a heavy metal band for over 4 years, which I don't know many of you know, but some of you maybe know. But yes, I played in a heavy metal band for over 4 years, and I was the guitarist of the band. And the interesting fact about that band is that the name of the band was "In Space, No One Can Listen to You If You Don't Scream."
This is the name of the band.
Look, again, don't ask me why. That was the name of the band.
Remember me to not include you in the marketing discussion. That's why the new word is called Think Deeper. Okay, great. So you joined the company almost a year ago,
Yeah.
and so you had interviews with us. All the interviews were remote, I think.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the one that we had together, and I think it is during the interview that you realize that we have a book that we like very much in common, which is this book. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called The Hard Thing About Hard Things, written by Ben Horowitz, I think maybe 15 years ago, at least now. And so this discussion today will be partly about AI, partly about entrepreneurship, and there will be some extracts and questions coming from the book. And first I will start by the chapter 1 of the book, which is called From Communist to Venture Capitalist. And so my question to you, Dash, is very simple. Are you a communist or a venture capitalist?
I think I've become a hardcore capitalist. I think money is something that everyone trusts, even if they don't have trust in religion or trust in love or trust in relationships. Everybody trusts money. Please raise your hands if you don't trust money. Do not trust money? Impressive. But I think a lot of people, right? Money brings a lot of people together. Of course, it has pros and cons like everything else, but I think I'm a hardcore capitalist.
I mean, in entrepreneurship, somehow money is part of the scorecard. That's a way to know if what you do is delivering value to the users and the clients as well. Okay, so capitalist. So we start. That would be also a question about communism, I think. Actually, I will go to that directly. There is a very famous part of this book, a small chapter, which is called The Struggle. And there is a quote by Karl Marx, which is very simple quote, life is struggle. And I will quote a few of the lines that describe what the author refers as a struggle. So, the struggle is when you wonder why you started the company in the first place. The struggle is when people ask you why you don't quit and you don't know the answer. The struggle is when you don't believe you should be CEO of your company. The struggle is when you know that you are in over your head and you know that you cannot be replaced. The struggle is when everybody thinks you are an idiot, but nobody will fire you. The struggle is where self-doubt becomes self-hatred. A few others, the struggle is when you go on vacation to feel better and you feel worse. And I like this one, the struggle is the land of broken promises and crushed dreams. The struggle is a cold sweat The struggle is where your guts boil so much that you feel you are going to spit blood.
My takeaway from this is, when I was reading this book, I just felt like this guy is writing my life, because I was reading this book at a very low point in my life, okay? And I think this describes being an entrepreneur. And only if you have ever, raise your hands, if you have ever tried to build something on your own and sell it. Anyone? Try to build something on your own and sell it. So you probably have gone through struggle in life. I think this describes exactly the life of an entrepreneur, especially in the beginning. I think the 0 to 1 is what this encompasses, and of course afterwards as well. And I'll tell you a story of my life. There was a time when I decided that I'm going to spend time on Himalayas. I went there with my teammates and we just lived there for 3 months. And during that time, we spent some time in a monastery, in a Buddhist monastery. And there, I talked to the monks, and I learned that there's this one thing that they say in Buddhism, that suffering is real, and once you accept it, then only you can be happy. If you cannot accept suffering fully, then you will never be able to be happy, because you will suffer and then you will never be happy. Right? So it's an interesting way to think about it, and I think this is exactly that, and that there is no struggle. The whole path of entrepreneurship and building something is struggle, and if you don't accept it, then I don't think we can win.
So you're right, I think this book, it helps you not only to accept the pain, the struggle, but also to make it part of the journey. Because you also realize at the point that lessons comes with pain, and so when you experience the pain, it's because you are growing in your role. And when you think of it, like most of entrepreneurs, when they start a company, they don't have any experience. And one of the specificities of what's happening in tech, that your company can grow very fast. So you are not made for that. So by necessity, you have to experience those very difficult evolution and to suffer from those. But
absolutely, I think that is the part. How fast can we recover from it, and how fast can we tell ourselves that, okay, I know this is a part of it, and I just have to go through it. That's it.
What else did you learn from the monks that you today?
The interesting fact is, we have an image about these monks, that these monks have this different kind of life. They're very casual, very normal, very chill people. They hang out, they do everything that we do. Some things they have left in life, but I think otherwise they're very chill people. They hung out with us, they gave us food, shared stories. They would also take their bikes and roam around, and they would also do things that are not allowed to do sometimes as well. So that tells me that they're no different than us. It's just that they have decided a majority of their life is different, but at the end, at the core, they're the same people.
By the way, we decided that nothing will be really planned in this interview. So there is no prepared questions or answers today. And we'll be switching from entrepreneurship and Jus Mundi. And so going back a bit to Jus Mundi, if you can take us through what happened when you joined during the first 6 months, let's say.
At Jus Mundi?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be very candid about it. So when I joined, my expectation was that the product will be there, and I have to work on how to improve the product. And let's be honest, I mean, there were challenges when I joined. Come on, people are laughing. But there were challenges. So when I joined, so there's a good thing, there's a good side to it, and there's a bad side to it. Okay. So the good side is that I had just shut down my company, and I had seen a lot of struggle. Okay. So when I saw the struggles at Jus Mundi, it did not feel that big. I realized that, okay, there are issues, but I mean, come on, we can fix these issues. It did not feel like it is going to end my company or the company is going to shut down because of it. So that is the good thing. The other thing is that I did not expect that it is going to be like that. But then I thank my wife is over here, and I told her that, hey, this is the situation. And it was like, you were saying that you were going to chill. I was like, yeah, maybe God just does not want me to chill. And thankfully I had the team, we could get the team. The first 6 months was essentially my main concern. Will I have a good team or not, right? Because I was new to the company. And I found some great people in the team, gathered them together, and told them that the next few months are going to be very aggressive, so let's prepare ourselves. And I think we did it. We had our first release. How the first 6 months went by, I don't even know. I did not even count, and I just don't know. It just went on like a marathon. Just kept building, kept testing, kept building, and eventually we released. There were issues, of course, but I mean, we did it, right?
Yeah, and the result is there because the clients are very satisfied with the innovation of the AI that we launched, so that's great. And you started the first 2 months from India.
Yes.
I remember our CTO Thomas and Han joined you there.
Yeah.
It's a week with you.
That was a very interesting time. Thomas came to India for the first time, and he had never seen cows on the street. When he saw a cow in the street, he took his phone out and started taking a picture. And I had a friend with me. I was like, oh, let him enjoy it. Let him enjoy his time in India. And then he found a vegetable vendor on the street. I was like, okay, now I'm going to take a picture of this as well. Like, Tama, you enjoy as much as you want. But he had a very good time. He took a tuk-tuk for the first time. And I think I have a photo of him taking a photo of the tuk-tuk. And then I taught him how to stop a tuk-tuk on the road and just negotiate and bargain with them. While I was trying to teach him, Han already did it. And she was like, hey guys, I already have one. Come on. So it was a very interesting experience for me, and told him before that food is going to be very spicy, so you be prepared. So he had sent me a photo of a hot sauce that he's having to prepare himself to come to India. And then the day he was about to leave, he told me that, Dash, I'm very underwhelmed. I told him, you are underwhelmed because I took you to the right places. Okay, that's why you are underwhelmed. Next time you come, I took you to the other places that I've not taken you.
Yeah, he was super happy of his trip. He told me about the tuk-tuk directly. But you say something very interesting about, so when you came, one of your main concerns was, okay, who will be my team, the people I will be working with. And so there is a very important chapter from the book, which is called Take Care of the People, the Products, and the Profits, in that order. Having it right on the people side, especially in a startup, is very complicated. I can ask the first question, which is, how do you choose people around you?
I mean, that's a tough one, because it's not easy to, the system that we follow to choose people to join your teams. I'm not sure if I like the process or not, but I don't think there's a better process than this. The interview process that we have. We have 4 interviews or 5 interviews, we have culture fit interviews, but people have cracked the process and people know how to behave in an interview. So I personally, at the very core, don't know if I fully trust this process or not, right? But there is no better way. What is the better way? We ask them to come work with us for 2 days. That sounds great, but do people have time? Working people, would they come and work for you for 2 days? So I don't know. So I struggle with this a lot. But there are some traits that I try to pick up, and they are very subjective. So you cannot calculate that by the number of years. So one thing is, if I ask a question, then I try to see how deep they go, right, into the topic. So that tells me, A, they are nerds. Right, so that's a big green flag for me, right? Because I think I work very well with people who try to go deep into topics. And second is that I try to find, I was telling you the other day, everyone has a key, you know? I try to find the key. There's a Hindi version of this, but I cannot translate it. Like, everyone has a key, you know? So during the interview, I keep asking questions and navigate the space of questions to find that key. And if I think that the other person is helping me find that, by giving the answers or going deeper and going even deeper, then I feel confident that, okay, I can have a conversation with this person is a nerd and they have this internal drive. That's a good one.
If you don't find the key, it's a no-go. Right?
I don't think it's a no-go, but I think then I would ask my other people, right? Because I would not be the only interviewer. Okay. I would ask the others, but if I don't find it, I definitely am disappointed.
And is it possible that you find the key, but you realize that it is a key that you cannot work with?
Sometimes that does happen. It happened very recently. We were interviewing someone, found this guy, I think it was a referral, and this guy was so enthusiastic, very good conversation, found the key as well, but it just did not fit. His skill set did not match exactly. And in an ideal world, maybe I would take him, you know. And I was talking to Stefan about it, and I told him that I feel sad that I have to reject this guy, you know, because I know that this guy has what I need. This guy definitely has it, but just there were some things that did not fit, and that's a sad thing.
Yeah, and it's always sad when you start doing interviews and you need to reject people. Of course, it's even more complicated when you need to separate yourself from someone you've been working with, especially for a long time. And when the person is a jerk or does a huge mistake, it's okay, it's easy. But it's not always the case. And that is actually part of the very important section of this book. There is a chapter which is called How to Demote a Loyal Friend, for instance, which is, of course, no one's really preparing you for that, and that is part of the struggle somehow. Have you encountered such difficult situations in your previous company? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, I think very few people will understand, I think you are one of them, is how does it feel like to see your friend and co-founder leave? and it is not easy. And if you think there is a good side to it, there is no good side to it. Emotionally, professionally maybe yes, but emotionally there is no good side to it. You've spent so much time with them, so many good memories, and especially if you have started the company with them, right? The first few months or years, those are the core memories, right? I had to let go of my co-founder, and that was not an easy decision. It was a difficult conversation. We argued a lot. We fought when we had never fought ever, right? As founders, and negotiations that you never thought would ever happen. Because when you start a company, you have this, let's start a company, right? That's the only thing. Let's build something, let's try to sell it. And when things like this happens, all these thoughts just go away. They're not there. And you're suddenly talking about shares, you're talking about how much money I would take to exit, and you're negotiating, you're bringing lawyers. And when two friends are sitting in the same room with two lawyers, that's a weird situation to be in, right? You spend so much time with them. So I don't think there is any easy way to do it, and I had to do it, and we figured it out. And these are the toughest moments, I think, in the journey. It's very tough emotionally. Professionally, I think sometimes it makes sense, because in my case, it made sense to let go of this co-founder. And I cannot justify this emotionally. If I tell someone that I had to let go of a co-founder, it's like, how could you let go of your co-founder? It's like, nobody will understand. And that's why a lot of people say that the journey of a founder is very lonely. I think these are the times when not a lot of people will understand what you're going through, but you just have to do it.
Yes, and there are two schools. Some people say, okay, you should never build something with a friend, and some people believe the opposite. I'm of the second school, because somehow it's what is friendship made for in life, and building stuff with friends is part of what friendship is made for, according to me. So I wouldn't do the opposite. Let's switch back to AI. So Jus AI 2 is an agentic architecture. Can you take us through what it means? And everyone in the room, including non-engineers, should understand it perfectly.
All right. I've been trying to simplify the concept of agentic AI. And the way I would explain it is the word agentic comes from what? Raise your hands if you know where the word agentic comes from.
Agent.
No. Good try. Agency. There you go. Good one. So it comes from agency. So what does it mean? That we are now trying to, with agentic AI essentially means that we are building software that you can offload the agency to. That means they can take decisions by themselves. They can act on your behalf, and they can perform these actions for you. To do what is a different story altogether, but this is what agentic AI means. Agents and all of that, it's been a bit overloaded. The word agent and agentic AI is a bit overloaded, but at the core of it, this is what it is. And if you think agentic AI or agency in software is a new concept, it is absolutely not a new concept. If you have played FIFA, how many of you have played FIFA or played FIFA? Yeah, many hands up in the air. So one of the early adopters of agentic AI was EA Sports, and they used agentic AI to build the players who are playing against you. So that also uses agentic AI, but not the kind of agentic AI we use today. It's a different kind of agentic AI, because the other team that is playing against you, nobody is controlling them, right? So how are they taking actions? How do they know that they need to come to you? And if you have played FIFA version after version, you would realize that the opposite players, so the opposite team, kept getting better and better and better, is because they kept building their agentic AI over the years. So agentic AI is essentially this software that can take actions for you, decide, think, and then do a particular task for you.
And so Jus AI is an agent, or it's agents?
Jus AI is a multi-agent system. In simple words, it's a multi-agent system. There are many agents working together to solve a certain problem for you. In our case, arbitration.
And how many agents, and do they have names, those agents?
We do have names, but I mean, it's a bit technical, but I think roughly I would say there are 8 to 12 agents, and then some, we can argue about whether this is an agent or not, or that is an agent or not, but roughly saying that there are 8 to 12 agents in our system. With Think Deeper, we would have maybe a bit more. There are 8 to 12 agents. You can think of one agent as an agent that solves for cases. It figures out that I need to do case analysis. So it does solve for cases. There is a new agent that we have built which does tribunals analysis only. So once a case research is done, It picks out those cases and specifically does tribunals analysis. There's rules analysis agent, there is publication analysis agent, there's a metadata agent, the agent that just figures out how to apply the filters, and that's it. So these are some of the agents that we have in our system.
Okay, so I think now I'm starting to understand finally agents. And so agents use models. Can you explain us what the relationship between a model and an agent? How many models do we use at Jus Mundi?
Very interesting question. An agent, think of a model as the brain of the agent. So a simple way to think about it is, how many of you have played with GI Joes? GI Joes? Yes, a few. Okay. Action figures in general? No action figures, a few. So you know that you get these base action figures, and then you get the caps and the bags and the stuff around it, right? So think of an agent as that. So the caps and the accessories are tools. So an agent has tools to perform an action. An agent also needs a brain to think. So the model is just the brain component of the agent. And then there are tools which help them solve a problem. I'll give you a simple example, right? So let's say there is a case analysis agent. So the brain decides that which case I need to pick and how do I need to search and so on. So that is only decided by the brain. But the actions are performed by the tools. So the tool is, one of the tools is make a DB query, make a database query. That's one tool. Another tool could be do a fuzzy search of this concept. That could be another tool. Another tool could be just aggregate the data based on some keywords. Right? Another tool could be just write it in a file. And then the agent uses all these tools and the brain sitting in the middle to aggregate all that and generate a final analysis or final answer. Let's put it that way. And that is the output of the agent. So now you see that an agent is not a model. An agent is a combination of a model, which is the brain, with tools that helps it perform actions.
Okay, I think I'm following you. And so we have models, and I know that several people in the team have been working on training, fine-tuning some new models recently, including one called Nexus. You can tell us about what's coming with these new models?
All right, so yes, we are building our own model. We're building it and we are going to release it. But maybe before answering that question, I would first try and explain why do we even need to train our model when we have so many good models out there. So one of the fundamental reasons why we need to build our own models is because these general purpose models or these standard models, the way they are trained is to solve for generic use cases, not specific use cases. And when we started looking at some of the negative feedback that we get, and we started to see the kind of queries that users are writing, and because I understand how the generic models are trained, because I follow the research papers and I have an understanding of how they are built, I kind of almost immediately, very early in the process of Jus Mundi, realized that this is not going to work. It is going to reach a cap of relevancy, of how good the answers are, and then it is going to saturate at that point because of this particular problem. Why? Is because exactly how the users type their questions does not match how the models are trained. So that was the motivation behind doing it. And I remember the first 2-3 months of me joining, we tried something to change that, but without training a model because we did not have the time to, but it did not work. So I said that I'm going to try it again. And then now we have a model which understands the intent of the user's query and then maps that properly with the database of documents that we have. And now it does it specifically for legal use cases, not just arbitration use cases, for legal use cases.
And so Jus AI will understand even better arbitration data, the queries of our users, and so the quality will be better. Yeah.
Maybe I can explain why would it be better. You could ask, right? So I would say that, hey, it's going to be better, but how? So think of it, if today you use a general standard model, not Nexus, what you would do is you would take a bunch of documents or paragraphs, put all of that in an LLM, and then let the LLM filter out the noise and also analyze what is good and then give you the answer. Let's say this is a standard process, right? So without Nexus, what you would do is you would take a bunch of things. Out of those things, there will be a lot of noise. So I call it the intelligence quota. So an LLM has a certain level of intelligence. Imagine if there is a lot of noise in the data that you give to the LLM. So majority of the intelligence quota is going to go in just removing the noise. and then there will be some quota left for it to do the intelligent activity, correct? So now without Nexus, there's a lot of noise in there. I would even say that 80-90% is noise, and the 10% is actual real good stuff. So the goal with Nexus is how much of this noise can be removed from the get-go, that the intelligence quota can be used for the real analysis and not just remove the noise. And this is what we achieved. We removed the noise. In the process, we also reduced the number of tokens we used, and now the results are better, clearly better, and we proved our hypothesis.
I mean, that's great. And you started with this training because here the choice of training a model, I would not say it's obvious, but it's easy to get. But we've been talking about some other model trainings, and I think one of the difficulties for most of the AI companies at the moment is to make this choice about using frontier models or training some models, and you don't know what the new models will look like. And so there is actually another chapter from the book which is called How to Lead Even When You Don't Know Where You Are Going. And so how do you make those decisions? Because you have no idea what the frontier model will look like in 6 to 12 months.
I think that's something that we struggle with, right? We as leaders, at least, we struggle with. And I think this is a struggle of mostly leaders, right? Because we have to set the direction, correct? And the team members, while they are also autonomous in many ways, but sometimes team members just follow. They look up to the leaders, right? And it is a problem for us to solve. What is if things change in 6 months? And I have to take that call today. And if 6 months is not valid, then A, I feel embarrassed, right? Of course, let's not disagree that we would feel embarrassed. And B is that you would feel like a lot of time and effort has gone to waste, and your team members would feel bad. So what I try to do, and I would not say that I'm perfect at it, is just stay focused at the user problem. Just keep solving the user's problem, right? The technology might change, but the user's problem might still be the same. Even we are seeing in the last 1 year, look at the number of LLMs that came out, but the problems of our users are still the same, right? They complain about the same things, maybe in a slightly different format. They say that I need more comprehensive answers, right? The users are still saying I need more comprehensive answers. We have tried all the new models, even Gemini, and the users, I'm pretty sure the users will still say that I need comprehensive answers. That means a model in this case will not be able to solve the problem. So we need to, maybe what I'm trying to do is just stay focused on the user's problem and just keep trying to solve that user's problem again and again. If the user's problem change in the next 6 months, then focus on that.
Okay, good answer, but indeed it's very difficult to know the future, and I think it's been a concern for many people since the beginning of humanity, how to predict the future. And in the past, looking into how the birds were flying in the sky to know what will happen. And looking back to AI, do you see a possibility that people will more and more go to AI for this role? And I can maybe get an example from what we provide to our users. When a client is going to arbitration, he or she wants if they can win the case. And so they have to estimate the percentage of chances of winning a case. And I remember like 3-4 years ago, and asking us, okay, can you build a system that will tell us the percentage of chances of winning? I say, look, I can, but the quality will be shit. And I say, can you still build it? Because I think we want this. And now with AI, we can ask anything, we get an opinion about anything. Do you think people will push this risk to AI more and more?
I don't know if they would do it, but they would definitely try. Because now we're kind of living in an experiment, I feel like, that there's an experiment going on in the world, and we have somehow, by choice or without choice, we are a part of it. And somehow we have to live through it, right? And I think people are going to try. We are trying new things. Like for example, we are trying to change how we work today. We are changing our EPD processes around AI. So I think if you build something like this, even if it is bad, people are still going to try it, because everyone is kind of realized that we are a part of an experiment now. And another thing I would like to point out, that one thing that I would tell every developer here or anywhere is that just don't be attached to what you are writing. The software that you're building, the code that you've written, the test cases that you've written, just don't be attached. Just assume that today you've written it, tomorrow I might have to just scrap it and I have to build something new. Just assume that and keep moving on, because the world is changing and it has already changed, and now code, I don't think it has that much value. What you build we're moving towards a world where what you're building has more value, and I personally don't think that raw code, just raw lines of code, I don't know if it will have value anymore. So don't be attached to the code that you build. stay focused on the user problems.
Yeah, which is a big evolution. I was talking with someone before about how in the venture capital world, like 20 years ago, it was all about the code that you built and the IP that you built through that, and now it has zero value, very small relative value versus what it was before. I'm coming to the end of my question, so we'll open the floor as well to external questions. I will ask this question in the meantime. So it's another quote from the book, and so at each of the chapters you have usually a quote from a song that comes most of the time from a rap song, but not only. And at this chapter the quote is from Jay-Z, and it is, "I move onward, the only direction, can be scared to fail in search of perfection." How do you balance perfection and achieving the goal in building products?
It's an ongoing process. I think I'm learning on the way, but one core philosophy is stuck with me, and I've learned this through a lot of suffering. Just so that you know, it is perfection through iteration, and this is what I mainly learned while building my company. When we started off, we were a group of AI researchers, and then we hired a bunch of engineers. No designer, no product manager, no nothing. It's an interesting story how we started, because we started the company after we got our first client. So we were about to sign the contract, and we were like, okay, we don't have a company. We need to build a company first to sign a contract, right? So we were just engineers who were trying to build something. And I would say the first year, we focused entirely on building the perfect engineering product, right? And I think we had to pivot after 1.5 to 2 years, and none of that mattered. Like absolutely zero value. I would say not zero, maybe let's say 5-10% business value. And that made me realize that why was I chasing perfection then, right? It did not matter. So then I tried to change my belief and perfection through iteration. Just do enough that will add business value. I'm talking mainly about business value, that would add business value. And then keep iterating. And just the art of, I'm trying to learn it on the go as well, the art of finding out that this is good enough for now, and then the next one will be an iteration. This is something that I'm learning. I think art perfection through iteration is how I would put it.
Yeah, I think those are very difficult decisions to make, because you want to achieve a great product for the clients, and having the right judgment to decide between this or this level of perfection is difficult. You might not know that, guys, but we had this issue very much at the beginning of Jus Mundi, because when we started, so maybe you've heard we started in 2018 or 2019, and it's never very clear. The reason is that, so we actually started in 2018, and we had this product vision, and okay, we know we want to build this, because this will allow us to win clients and to achieve our goal. And so we started to build weeks, months, and after more than 6 months, we realized that we were far away from achieving what we wanted to, and especially because the data situation issue was very difficult. You know, we were getting those very long PDF of bad quality award, and we needed to convert them into good quality database to be able to do good search. And this has sucked all the energy, and so we couldn't really build the product. And at a point, we were starting to be tired. We didn't have anything to show to anyone. We're like, okay, we are going in the water, and we don't have money anymore in 4 months, 6 months. And so we decided to pivot, and we looked again at the product that we were building, and we struck 70-75% of the product. And we focused only on the very simple version of the search engine that is today and has been rebuilt. And we said, okay, we build that and we try to sell it. And we can see. And we went to clients, we got a lot of no, but we got some yes. And thanks to that, we could understand what was the most important for the client, including the arbitrator filter, which is still there today, and we could iterate about that and build. So it was also understand that
learning through suffering.
Yeah, exactly. But very important way.
Actually, I think I'll make a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Learn through suffering.
I will have one. Okay, great. Alfredo, you want to go with the question?
Hello. Yes. Something that resonates a lot with me is what you said about leadership. Whenever the path is unclear and you still need to take a decision. And you said, focus on the problem, and that's like exactly what we used to do, is like, what is the user problems, and let's go back to it, and from there, try to lead. But one of the things that I also think is that, okay, if we only focus on that, what about innovation? What about creation itself, creativity. So I want just to try to understand what is your take on innovation, purely innovation, maybe even not focusing on a problem, but focusing on creativity, and what's the part in leadership of that?
I think that's a very interesting question. I don't know if I have a great answer, but I think about it in two ways, right? One is when you are focusing on the user's problem and building something. I think there's a lot of innovation that you can do in that particular vertical, let's say. So there's a lot of room for innovation. And there's this other vertical, which is where you are focused on the user problem, but you're not asking the user what is your problem. So in the first space, you're asking them, hey, what is your problem? And then you go to the whiteboard and you start drafting and you say that, okay, now I'm going to come up with a solution. In the second one, if you ask the user, then it is going to be very biased. And the second one is more of an iPhone sort of example, right? You imagine what could be a better world for my user, and then you start innovating. I think there is fun in both. There's more fun in the second one, but the risks are also pretty high, right? So I think the challenge is, how do you balance innovation in both these worlds? And especially when you're building a company, I think a lot of American companies are built on part two, on the second vertical. That's what I feel. Maybe you have a different opinion. But that also leads to big innovations, right? For example, NVIDIA was working on a technology for more than 10 years, and they were about to go bankrupt. But that is what all the AI in the world today is built on top of, right? So if you don't, and this is definitely the category 2 that we are talking about, right? Just imagine imagine a new world for your user and innovate. And there are plenty of examples for the first category. So I think innovation comes in both. Which one do you want is the right question, I think.
It's true that the process of innovation in computer science is really different from the process of innovation in civil engineering or engineering in general. And I think especially in a country like France that comes from a very strong engineering culture, but not a very strong computer science culture, it took a lot of time to build this mindset in the way to innovate. There is actually a very good quote from not a great guy in this book, because it is from Peter Badat, and the way he framed it is that there is a difference between two kinds of framework, one which is it's indeterminate versus determinate. The math version of that is calculus versus statistics, and it says that there is a powerful shift toward the idea that statistical ways of thinking are going to drive the future. Of course, it was written 15 years ago. It becomes even more true today. And here again, I think being capable of making the choice of one or the other approaches is a difficult goal sometimes. Other questions yet? Or girls that we have? Yeah.
So my question is maybe a bit more personal than about the rest, but next week during PAW, I will have a panel and I have to talk about AI for a bunch of learners. So you told that initially you were actually planning to be an engineer.
Civil engineer. So, and you said that you don't know exactly how did you arrive here today, but then I wanted to know what exactly, at which point you thought that actually you would like to go to another path and AI would be something interesting for you. And I would also like to ask the same question for Jean-Rémi, because for you that has a background more similar to mine, and you are a lawyer, maybe I should already know that because I'm already working here, but also to understand, because I want to build how I will present next week, so maybe some takes from your sides that already work with it would be interesting. If I tell you how I chose not to be a civil engineer and chose computer science, you will laugh at me. I was about to go enroll in my college, and you have this option of picking a branch, right, or picking a stream. And there was a guy standing in front of me with his dad, and I was standing with my dad. And my dad told me, just do whatever you want to do. Right? I don't care. You just have to study. Indian dads are like that. You have to study. You have to go to college. What? I don't care. And this other guy was trying to convince his dad that I will not take civil engineering and I will take computer science, and his dad wanted him to pick civil engineering. And I listened to him for 20 minutes in that queue, and then that convinced me to not pick civil engineering and pick computer science. So I would say it's a bit random, alright? I was fully convinced that I will do civil engineering. But then when I picked computer science, I realized that it's much easier, pays a lot better, than civil engineering, and I get to do remote work as well if I want to. So that was a very big motivating factor for a long time. But how I entered AI is a very interesting story as well, because after college I joined a multinational company, because I mean that's the game, right? You graduate and you join a big company, salary, and then you spend on whatever you want, independent life and so on. So I joined a multinational company and I quit in 3-4 months because I could not sit there in big offices and those cubicle like structures. Just felt suffocating to me. Just could not do it. So I quit that job. I did not have a new job. And my brother told me that, hey, I have a friend who's working at a startup. They're working on language AI. And believe me, back then, nobody knew what AI was, right? AI was Terminators. Right? It was around 2012. Around 2012. Okay. Nobody even was talking about AI, machine learning. It was not a big thing. And he told me, there's a new startup, very small. They might not pay you much, but do you want to join? I was like, okay, why not? And somehow I interviewed. I liked the guys. They told me, yeah, come. And the interview was very casual. I mean, they asked me a few questions, then they gave me a problem to solve, and I joined them. And then I started learning about AI. And I worked on language AI, built translation models, speech models, and so on. And it just gave me a kick. If you have ever trained a model, you will get a kick. That when a machine starts thinking, and when you see it in front of you, that a machine has started thinking now, I cannot explain how that kick is. You need to do it to know what that kick is. And I just got that kick. I kept following that. And here I am.
I love the kick story. I think I've always been a fake lawyer on my side. I always loved astronomy, science as a kid, and for some reasons, personal reasons, I didn't follow that track. I quit my studies. And a few years I decided to go back doing some studies. And somehow I was interested by the legal field. I like the figure of a lawyer who is here to defend other people. That's why the Jus Mundi logo is a shield. It's the figure of the law here to defend others. And when I started to study, it was cool to learn about history, to learn about society, about the legal structure. But I didn't have the passion at the beginning until a point during my second year where I understood that law is mathematics. It's exactly the same. It's a bunch of rules. You have rules and you have specific situations and you need to apply that to solve a specific problem. And when I got that, it became instantly very attractive to me and I started to really like and enjoy the practice of law. So I kept going and I arrived in Nanterre and there I discovered international law. And at that time, my passion was the internet. I wanted to help preserve the liberty of the early days of the internet that was so amazing. And when I discovered international law, I said, okay, that's part of the way. And you discover this law which aim is to prevent all the horrible wars that we see in the world today. The goal is to say, okay, as humans, let's find a way to be a bit more civilized. And everyone, usually when you discover international law, you are like, wow, my God, but that's the truth, that's what we should pursue. And of course, after you realize that it doesn't work that well yet. But what I really wanted to do was to help to keep building this system. I had no idea what to do, and thankfully I met someone who gave me a job in this role, and I started to practice international law, which was great. But deep down, I still wanted to find a way to improve it. And because I had this background in tech, many of my friends were working in tech, I could see a way to build. First was just a database of treaties that we wanted to build, and this could help to make it accessible and to help improve the system. And so I explored with some friends, and when finally we went into it, also I had I don't know if that's a key, but I remember saying to my friend, okay, I know what it feels to feel at my place, and it wasn't the case before, so it was obvious at a point.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So Jus Mundi did not start with cases. We started with treaties.
Yes, we started with treaties.
Interesting. This I did not know. New thing for me.
You know, part of the thing that we started to develop that we even never use, do we still have in the back of it the part for the reservations for treaties? No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Never read.
Yeah. That's the level of detail that we had on treaties that we never use, because after we realized that treaties are good, but if you don't have case law applying each specific article, the value is too low for years. So we let that aside and we focus on cases.
Interesting.
Can I ask one last question?
Hi Dash. So in interviews you probably ask the candidates where do you see yourself in the next 5 years. I'm going to ask you where do you see use AI in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years. Technically, I never asked this question. Because I never liked this question. Because I have seen 3 phases of AI by now, right? And I'm not 50 years old. I've seen 3 phases of AI, right? And the amount of change and how fast things are changing, it's just impossible to say where we will be in the next 5 years. But what I can say for sure, that where we better be is that we better be state of the art. As simple as that. What that state of the art is, I don't know, but we better be state of the art. That's it. And 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, doesn't matter.
We don't have more questions? Last one.
So civil engineering, computer science, AI, and heavy metal. First question is, do you recognize any link between them, the common quality that attracts them all to you? And second question, when you moved into Paris, what was your cow in the street moment?
What was the?
Your cow in the street moment.
Cow. That's a very, very good question. I mean, let's start with the first one. I don't know if there is a big relationship between civil engineering and everything else because I never pursued it. It was just a thought in my head that I would love to do it. I was good at mechanical engineering. Civil engineering just felt like an interesting thing to do, but I never pursued it. So I cannot say more. But music has, I feel like everything is music, right? Music is essentially patterns, right? And what we are doing, the world of AI is built on top of pattern recognition. What the AI is learning is patterns within text, as simple as that. So if you look at it that way, and I can go on and on about music and AI for, I don't know, hours or days. But at the heart of it, music is nothing but patterns, and AI is the science of making machines learn patterns. And there's a lot of there's another side to it where AI is inspired from physics, and that physics is also related to how frequencies work, how temperatures change, and it's a very interesting topic and it's a bit technical, so I will not talk about it. But there's a core fundamental connection between how AI models are trained and perceived, and how does that relate to music as well. And my cow in the streets moment in Paris, I don't know. Do we have one? I don't know. I was pretty impressed by the fact that everyone eats baguettes on the way. Like on the go. Like the American culture is you drink coffee on the go. Here people like we eat baguettes on the go. That was a very interesting one.
We have the pigeons.
Pigeons?
Pigeons.
You have no idea how many pigeons there are in India. You have absolutely no idea. Pigeons were not something new.
The most amazing for me in India wasn't cows in the street, but monkeys. Monkeys can be super aggressive. No?
Very, very
and
aggressive.
they try to steal you.
You know the worst ones? There are rogue monkeys. And monkeys are not supposed to live in cities, okay? But these monkeys, they've lived in the cities. They know exactly where your refrigerator is. They know what you put in the refrigerator when, because in India there are housewives, right? So your moms would cook XYZ on specific days. They know what they cook, on which day they would come, they would open the fridge, they would know which container to pick because you know that is the only one which is spoiled, and they would take that. You know, so they are very smart. I call them rogue monkeys.
Yeah, but I've seen that from my eyes in Rishikesh. I was in a coffee, everything was quiet, and at a point I hear a lot of noise, and from the kitchen window, I see 3 monkeys with bananas like that. What the fuck? I still have the video. Okay, so we are good with questions? Okay, so we move to the last 3 questions that we asked to everyone coming to Hoche Hour. And the first question is there a book or another resource that you would recommend to everyone here?
Can I recommend 2?
Yes, because it's you.
The first one is a book, and I love this book. This is probably the only business strategy book that I like, because I find business strategies book to be BS to a great extent. But this book is called 7 Powers. It's a very slim book, very easy read. And it talks about 7 powers that a company can acquire to be in a position where they will never have to care about competitors. So as a company, how can I be in a position where I will never have to care about my competitors? And he talks about a few powers. Interesting fun fact is that before joining Jus Mundi, I did a 7 powers analysis of Jus Mundi, and then I did a 7 powers analysis of Jus Mundi, and then I was like, okay, I think I'm convinced. Okay, we can go. Of course, you don't have to have all the 7 powers, but it's a very good book. Network effects. If you have followed, so Y Combinator has these principles, right? Startup principles. Those startup principles are a copy of 7 powers, and it's a book by Hamilton Helmer, brilliant author, who's a teacher as well. And like network effects, for example, cornered resources. And Jus Mundi is kind of a cornered resource, has a cornered resource power. Essentially, you corner a resource from the world that others cannot get access to. Sometimes I think lawyers use this. They corner a lot of the legal knowledge, and then people who have no idea about it, they're like, okay, now I will add value. So it's like an arbitrage, right? So you have knowledge arbitrage, you have resource arbitrage. So cornered resources is another one. There's also branding power. So if you build branding power, you can do a lot just with that. And the book is very amazing and has a lot of good examples and stories about startups, how they use this power. So that.
And the second?
The second one is a podcast that I've been following for over 7 years now. The name of the podcast is Acquired, and each episode is about 5 hours long, 4.5, 5 hours long. And these are two nerds who talk about companies, and they break down the history of the company to a level that I have never seen anyone do. And they talk about the relationships, and they go to the level that they prepare for months before recording an episode. And they go talk to the founders, they talk to the friends of the founders, the family of the founders, and they go to that level before preparing for an interview. So I find them to be amazing because the source of truth is so solid that what they say, it's barely a mistake. And what I really like about them is after they make an episode, there are millions of viewers, right? So people correct them as well. And then they send the corrections afterwards to every listener who has subscribed. And they openly in the next episode, they said that we made this mistake and this is the correct information, which I really like. They're very honest.
That's very good. And what is your favorite?
In Acquired. My favorite episode is a 3-part episode. Each episode is about 5 hours. So you have to have patience. To learn about them. And there are 2 episodes. One is about NVIDIA and the other is about Google. And both of these, if you go through this, it's about 30 hours in total. If you go through this, you will know everything about the world of AI, starting from when it started to what is going on now. But you have to invest 30 hours of your life.
And their story is quite impressive. Okay, second question, which is, would you recommend us to invite at your place for a show?
Jan Lekun.
Yeah, yes.
Let's do it, and let's make an event out of it. Yeah. And now that C4 Ventures has also invested in them, perfect time for us. Nice, let's get Jan Lekun here and let's make an event about it.
Exactly. Okay, so last question. So you've joined the company Jus Mundi, whose mission is to power global justice. And we had this debate at Jus Mundi 5-6 years ago, even more, I think. What does justice mean? And we realized that for each of us, it meant something different. There was some aspects in common, but some aspects are fundamentally different. So what does justice mean to you? And what is it something that we should start doing tomorrow to bring the world closer to this definition of justice that you have?
I have thought about it because I realized that I don't know if I have a definition of justice in my head. So I gave it a thought, and I'm going to sound like an engineer now, so bear with me. So I think that justice is a trust protocol. And the way I would explain it is that justice, we trust in justice. We say that there is justice, let's say, and we will build justice somehow. I don't know how. And we are building protocols around it, right? And all of us kind of have this common notion that justice, we can trust on justice. We will get it. There are ways to get it, and we will find our way through it. And justice has a user interface as well. Think of justice as a concept and as a user interface. And the user interface of justice is treaties or rules or awards and all of that. I think of them as the user interface, right? So I'm not interacting with justice. Like I'm interacting with the treaties that are there, and I'm using them to get justice at some point. So this is, I don't know if I sound like an engineer, but this is how I interpret it in my head.
No, not at all. And the trust protocol is a very good idea, actually. So have you heard from lawyers here what is the oldest rules of international law? It has a Latin name, like Jus Mundi. It's called Pacta sunt servanda, which means that if we have an agreement, we have to respect it. And so it's a trust protocol between countries. Like we agree, we will trust each other, which obviously
Yes, and I mean, how I think of it is that, like, what we are doing, what are we doing? We are enabling the trust protocol is how I see it. And we are enabling users with this interfacing. We're sharing the documents, we're making it transparent, we're giving the information out so that you can follow the trust protocol properly. But now my question to you is that are we able to make sure that justice can be achieved, or justice, people get justice? Are we able to, what we are doing is we're enabling them, but I don't think we are still making sure that happens. First question, is that something we want, or we just want to enable them and then leave it to the trust? Or do we want to also enable it?
So that's a very good question, and if Alexandre will be there, he gave it a lot of thoughts when we defined exactly how to describe Jus Mundi's mission and put it in our bylaws. So Jus Mundi's mission is not to achieve justice. Justice is indeed, first it's an ideal, I think, something toward which we have to bend, but there are so many actors, so many interfaces. Jus Mundi's mission is to power, so to enable the system to work better. And we could even, we can have discussion about if the content of international law, good or bad today. We could argue that some treaties are not really serving the interests of the world globally, but we decided purposely that it is not part of what we have to care about. The content of international law, it's not us. The application on specific situation is not us. For instance, when something's happening in the world, Jus Mundi is not taking a position about it. There are courts, there are judges, or not, but that's not our mission. Our mission is to build the infrastructure, to make the information flow from everyone, to connect people, to allow them to have access to the information, and to foster the development of a system that when people want to use it, it can work.
Interesting, and that's why we are the enablers. We want to be the enablers.
Cool. Okay, Dash, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it thoroughly. No preparation.